If you are in the wedding venue business, you know your job is all about creating these perfect, magical days for people. But what about all that stuff that happens behind the scenes? You know, the endless, repetitive admin work? Today, we're going to dive into the real cost of all that manual work and the absolutely massive return on investment you get when you finally automate it.
It always starts small, doesn't it? Just one little email. Hey, can you resend the venue policies? It's the third time this week, but hey, no big deal, right?
And then, ping, another email. A client's a little confused about their payment schedule. Again, it only takes a minute to look it up and clarify. Easy. And oh yeah, then the dreaded spreadsheet lands in your inbox, a dozen little changes to the guest list, which you now have to plug in by hand for the fourth time. Look, on their own, these tasks are just tiny little interruptions, but when you add them all up day after day, they create this constant drag on your team's energy, their focus. It's like death by 1,000 administrative cuts, and it's happening every single day. So let's put a name on this thing. We are talking about a massive, hidden operational cost. These little micro interruptions, they're not just annoying. Over an entire wedding season, they literally add up to hundreds of lost hours your staff could be using to actually grow the business. Okay, so let's get really specific here. We're going to break down the 5 biggest administrative time sinks that plague pretty much every single wedding venue out there. And I've got a feeling you're going to recognize these immediately. First up, the absolute classic, the endless email loop. Every single one of these questions is, of course, important to your client, but answering them one by one, over and over again, it's such a huge drain. Every time your staff has to stop what they're doing to type out the same exact answer, your productivity just takes a nosedive. And when you put the two side by side, the difference is just night and day. On the left, you've got that manual chaos we all know. But on the right, you have a real structured solution. A self-service portal creates one central place for all those FAQs and sends out automatic reminders, which can literally eliminate dozens of these emails every single week. All right, on to time sink number 2, the black hole of resending documents. Contracts, floor plans, menus. Your team spends so much time just digging through folders and hitting attach. And what's worse, this creates massive version control issues, with clients and vendors working off of old, outdated information. So, what's the fix? Well, it's about getting everything out of those confusing email threads and into a centralized document library. This becomes the single source of truth. Clients, vendors, everyone can access the latest files 24/7. No more clarification loops and no more costly mistakes. And believe me, the list does not stop there. We've also got the total chaos of managing guest lists from clunky spreadsheets, the constant back and forth trying to coordinate with vendors, and, of course, that super tedious and uncomfortable task of chasing down late payments. Each one is a huge time sink on its own.
So what this all points to is a really fundamental shift in thinking. We have to move away from being constantly reactive, always putting out fires in our inbox, and move towards structured automation. And that is exactly where a client self-service portal comes in as the complete solution.
Okay, that sounds great, but what does that shift actually get you? Let's talk about the real, tangible return on your investment here. This isn't just about feeling less stressed. We're talking about hard numbers and reclaiming a massive amount of your team's time. 30 to 50%. Just let that sink in for a second. That is the amount of time spent on all that manual coordination that venues are actually getting back after they implement a structured portal system. This is a total game changer for your operations. And you might be thinking, 30 to 50%, really? How is that even possible? Well, this chart here breaks it down perfectly. Just look at where the time goes, up to 30% just on repetitive emails alone. When you start tackling each one of these slices with a dedicated digital tool, you can see how those savings add up incredibly fast. And this is the whole point, right? The time you get back isn't just free time. It's a strategic asset. It's time your team can now pour back into high-value stuff. Sales, marketing, and actually enhancing the client experience instead of just being professional email answerers. And that's where this whole thing goes from just being about saving time to something much bigger, building a stronger, more competitive business. Because a well-oiled machine on the inside, that becomes a powerful marketing advantage on the outside. I absolutely love this quote. Stress reduction becomes a conversion driver. Think about it. When a potential client sees that you have a professional, structured, digital process, it just screams competence. It reduces their anxiety. And that feeling of security, that's what helps close the deal. So when you put it all together, the reframe is huge. A portal lets you increase your booking capacity without having to hire more admin staff. It calms down the day-to-day chaos, it protects your brand from silly manual errors, and it dramatically improves your staff's morale by getting rid of their most hated repetitive tasks. And honestly, this might be the most important point of all. The system of using just email and spreadsheets is fragile. It breaks under pressure as you grow. But a proper digital infrastructure, that's built to scale right alongside your biggest ambitions. So I'll leave you with this question to think about for your own venue. Is your team caught in a loop, just spending their days answering the same questions over and over? Or have you actually engineered your systems to eliminate that repetitive work? Because the answer to that question really is what's going to determine your capacity for growth.